This is the multiple choice review that we did in class today. Based on how we did, I'm going to pick just a couple that I want to go into detail. I will go ahead and go through all of the answers with you though. For this first one, to write it in slope-intercept form, you would rearrange it to make it y is equal to negative 3x minus 18, making C our answer choice. On the second one, remember anytime we have a vertical line, our slope is undefined. For number 3, if we want to find our slope, you might notice that if we were to plot them on an ordered pair, if we were to plot the ordered pairs on a coordinate grid, 2, 4, and 4, 4, that makes a horizontal line, so the slope is 0. Otherwise, you can use that slope formula. And then when we go ahead and plug it in, we get 4 minus 4 for our numerator, 4 minus 2 for our denominator, so 0 over 2, which makes our slope of 0, okay? On this one here, when we solve the system, remember we're going to try and line these up. So we'll solve this one by addition because we have opposites right here. So 4x plus 3x gives us 7x. 4y minus 4y is eliminated. Negative 23 plus negative 20, or I'm sorry, negative 12 plus negative 23 is going to be negative 35. So when I solve 7x is equal to negative 35, I get x is equal to negative 5. Now, right away, when I look at all my x coordinates, since it's a multiple choice test, I already see what my solution is going to be. It's going to be D. Let's say you had more than one option where the x value is negative 5. You would take and then plug that back in to either equation to find your y value. So I use the first equation, and then we're just using this to solve. So add 20, 4y is equal to 8. Whoopsies, 4y is equal to 8, so y is equal to 2. So like we had already thought, D is our answer, okay? Sometimes you have to multiply first to make sure that they're opposite. Sometimes you have to rearrange things. The next one that I wanted to go over, I guess I'll give you the answer for this one. Remember, we'll do negative 3 times 2 is negative 6, c to the 8 times c to the 6. Remember our rule, we add the exponents, c to the 14 and then c to the 8. So there we go, A is our answer. Remember, use your multiple choice test taking skills. Negative 3 times positive 2 is a negative 6, so right away we should have eliminated C and D. Number 6, I know a lot of people had forgotten about this, okay? So let's say you didn't remember just what it was going to look like. It was exponential growth and decay, that's what we had learned about. Let's say we don't remember, we want to make ourselves an XY chart, okay? So X, Y, and I'm going to make a vertical chart just because that's what I have room for. Let's start with negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2. Remember, we plug our value in for X. So when I do 1/3 to the negative 2 power, that's 1 to the negative 2 over 3 to the negative 2. Remember, I reverse that. That becomes 3 squared over 1 squared, which is just 9. Okay, remember my negative exponent rules. Do the same for the negative 1. 1/3 to the negative 1 power. That's 1 to the negative 3rd over 3 to the negative 1st. I said that first one wrong. 1 to the negative 1st, 2 to the 3 to the negative 1st. Reverse that around, so I just get 3. When I plug in 0, remember anything to the 0 power is 1. 1/3 to the 1st power is 1/3, and so on. So I'm looking for the ordered pairs, negative 2, 9, negative 1, 3, 0, 1, and 1, 1/3. And the only one that even comes close to satisfying that option is going to be option D here. So this is going to go ahead and be our answer. Okay, this one went just fine. Remember, you just plug in your values. So we have P, R, we'll remember 0.1, and then N is equal to 5. Now, realistically speaking, if you have $150 and you put this into a bank account, unless you're banking at some bank that I need this information of where I take my money to, you're not going to be getting anywhere near any of these other amounts by just putting in $150. So realistically, our only reasonable answer for this one is 242. Okay, onward. This one went just fine. Remember, we just combine our like terms. We have to distribute that negative sign, so 6x to the third plus 8x squared plus 8, and then I can kind of distribute my negative and line up my terms. Negative 7x to the third plus 7x squared plus 3x minus 8. I'm sorry, plus 8, and that should be a negative. So when we combine all of our like terms, we're going to end up getting, what will we get right here? D. Okay. This we're going to talk about more in class, but let's go ahead and real quick review this. This right here, x to the squared, makes this a parabola. Okay? This one cannot be it right here. This, if I divide these both by 7x plus 1, this is an mx plus b, and that's what we're going to do. This has an x right here. This right here, I'm already thinking 7 divided by 7. 1 divided by 7. Right away, I go to this part of this graph, x has 7 and x plus 7. That's not going to work. If we're dividing by x, that's not going to work. If we have an x in the exponent, that's not going to work. Number 10 went just fine. Right away, we can see x squared is positive, so we can eliminate option C and option B. And then let's say you can't remember if it's going to be A or C. Okay, let's make ourselves a mini XY chart. I'm going to just start by plugging in 0. 0 squared plus 6 is positive 6. So right away I can see that my answer is C. This one is a superfoil, and I think we all did okay with that. I'm going to go ahead and show you, remember how Miss Cash uses that other box method, so we can go ahead and kind of talk about how we could have used this. This is kind of useful for this. So if I put x plus 5 on this side, x squared minus 2x, and then plus 3, and then I can go ahead and multiply x by x squared is x to the third. 5 times x squared is 5x squared. 5 times negative 2x is negative 10x. X times negative 2x is negative 2x squared. X times 3 is 3x. And 5 times 3 is 15. And then I can go ahead and I can combine my like terms. And I can combine these like terms. So my final answer, I'm going to end up getting option A. Because I have x to the third, 5x squared minus 2x squared will be plus 3x squared, negative 10 plus 3x will be as negative 7x, and 15 has no like terms. Continuing on. This one, I think we did okay. Real quick refresher. We add 9 to both sides. So we have x plus 9 is equal to 11. We take the square of both sides. X plus 9 is equal to 121. Subtract 9, and then we get 112. So our solution will be A. Again, for this one, since it's multiple choice options, if we were to look at the two negative numbers, if we do negative 68 plus 9, we get a negative 59. Can't take care of that. That doesn't work, and neither does negative 16. So right off the bat, we've eliminated 2 of the answers. Then we'll have to do the algebra in order to determine if it's 112 or if there's no solution. Okay, the midpoint one, this one went just fine. You end up getting B. Remember, it's x1 plus x2. Divide by 2, that gives you your x coordinate. Add the 2 y coordinates together, divide by 2, and that gives you your y coordinate. Solve the equation. This one went all right. I know a lot of people had quite a few questions, so let's go ahead and chat about it. You could do slide and divide, or you could do the quadratic formula. When we had done those perfect square trinomials, remember, if this is a perfect square and this is a perfect square, we need to check if it's a perfect square binomial. So that means we're trying to determine does this factor to 4g plus 5 and 4g plus 5? So then we refoil that in our head, or we can actually do it out on paper, and we get that it does refoil. So our solution is c is equal to negative 5/4. Now, let's say you hadn't wanted to do it that way. You can use the quadratic formula, negative 40 plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, and that's all over 2a. All right, so when we go ahead and we work through this, we're going to end up getting that we have just one solution. So we're going to end up getting, we have negative 40 plus or minus, we get the square root of 0. That discriminant 0, that means we only have one solution, divided by 32. So then we just reduce negative 40 over 32 to be negative 5/4. Okay? Again, the other way you can do that, you can plug all 4 answers in and figure out which one works out. Number 15, we did all right on. I'll still work it through so we can have a good example. 4 root 3, I can't simplify that at all. Minus the square root of 64 is 8, so minus 8. And then we're going to have to do some simplifying for 6 root 27. So remember, the square root of 27 breaks down to 9 times 3. The square root of 9 is 3. Oopsies, excuse me. That should be a 3 there. I'm getting ahead of myself. 6 times 3, this comes down here to be 18 root 3. Remember, if two things have the same square root, we consider them like terms. So we can combine these two. 4 plus 18 is 22 root 3 minus 8. So our answer is going to be D. This one, I think there was a lot of confusion on what we were even looking for. And I think once you had figured that out, it was fine. So when you do 375 squared plus 900 squared is equal to c squared, you end up getting that the value for c is 975. And I remember, at least in Mod 5, Mod 5ing away, had thought, wait a minute, there's not an answer. I've done this a whole bunch of times. What's going on? But the question is, what total distance did they walk? So they walked 975 plus 900 plus 375, and you end up getting that altogether they walked 2,250 meters, okay? So make sure that if there's a question and you're absolutely correct, you're doing it right, what is the problem asking you? Is it asking for just one distance, or is it asking for a sum of differences? Or distances, excuse me. And number last that we did, what sides cannot form a right triangle? So you're doing a squared plus b squared. Is that equal to c squared? Okay? So when you go ahead, you get, when you do 5/2 squared plus 6 squared, you get that that's 13/2 squared. So that one checks out. And since it's a cannot, we're going to cross off the ones that do satisfy this. So it's not that one. 5 squared plus 12 squared, you add those together, that does equal 13 squared, so that one's not one of them. 10 squared plus 24 squared, we add those together and we get that it does equal 26 squared, so that one doesn't work. So we're going to assume it's D when we go ahead and do 6 squared plus 12 squared and then 13 squared. We get 36 plus 144, which is going to give us, let's see, 180, and 13 squared is 169. These are not equal, so this is our answer because this satisfies the question, what cannot form a right triangle? Hopefully that is of help for you. Remember, we're going to spend a couple minutes, 10 to 15, before we start the final on Wednesday, reviewing just your last couple of questions from these things and anything else you want to make sure you get on your note card. Good luck. Make sure you have all of the review sheets done for 8, 9, 10, and 11 to turn in tomorrow for your completion grade.